Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, welcome to the Paranormal Portal. It's our Friday night show. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the weekend, most of all. I hope you had a great week, and it's all wrapped up now, and you can kick back and enjoy yourselves. For those of you that work through the weekends, I'm sorry. What can I say? But I'm absolutely thrilled that you guys are spending part of your weekends right here with me on the Paranormal Portal. And, of course, I'm not alone here. I am joined by the big branch of the family tree himself, Mr. Sheldon Thomas. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing as best I can tonight. We skirt along the lines between freezing and staying warm. Tonight it's supposed to get down to 34 degrees.
Really?
So,
oof.
Oh yeah.
I gotta look at that thing.
Winter's come just a tad early, it seems like.
I gotta look at that now. Oh, it looks like the low tonight is 45 over here. So, yeah.
Aren't you lucky?
Well, you know, what can I say? We got a bone thrown to us right now. So, but yeah, good to see you. Thanks for joining me. And folks, it's nothing wrong with your audio. This is just as good as I'm going to sound, unfortunately. The head cold is just spanking me hard, but I'm still here with you because I love doing this. This is something I enjoy doing, and it's really important to me to get together with you guys and talk about all this weird stuff that we love so well. So, sorry, sometimes those are going to happen. My apologies. I'll try to mute as much as I can, but sometimes they sneak up, and that's the best I can do. But we got a lot of things to get through tonight, as always. But before we go any further, special thank you to Cryptid Coin for helping to sponsor the Paranormal Portal. We are absolutely thrilled to have them as part of the team and keeping us afloat here, keeping the lights on a little bit. And Cryptid Coin has got its heart in cryptid research and investigation. So if you're looking for an alternative kind of investment, maybe Cryptid Coin is good for you. So check it out at cryptidcoin.io. Again, that's cryptidcoin.io. And also coming from Extreme Expeditions Northwest LLC in June of next year, the 17th of June in Spokane, Washington, at the Spokane Valley Events Center. Stay tuned because the Sasquatch Roundup is happening in Spokane. It's their conference. This is the second one I think they've done, and they got some great talent lined up, if I do say so myself. Of course, they're going to have Michael Freeman, who's Paul Freeman's son, who's, of course, Paul Freeman was the one that captured the Freeman footage and still stands up in high regard today as probably some of the best footage out there of the proof of the existence of Sasquatch. Jeff Meldrum will be there. Dr. Jeff Meldrum, of course, will be there. And I've had the joy of meeting that man a few times now, and he's been a guest on our podcast as well. Just a phenomenal guy. Really down-to-earth, really, really cool person. So he'll be there. Of course, cryptozoologist, he's an author, and a TV personality, Ken Gerhard, will be there as well. He'll be presenting, and Tom Seawood of Sasquatch Island will be there as well. And so there's just a number of fantastic people going to be showing up. Again, this is June 17th, and the whole event will be emceed by none other than me. So, unless they find someone with talent. But so far, they're stuck with me. So, but we hope you can make it. Again, that's June 17th of 2023. Mark your calendars if you're in the region, or if you can get to the region. It'd be great to meet you. Don and I will be there anyway. And who knows, maybe Sheldon will make the journey, and we'll make it a trifecta for the Paranormal Portal. But anyway, let's see. What else do we got, Sheldon?
We got done news.
Done news. All right, folks, let's head over to the news desk and see what I've scraped up for you guys tonight. I've scoured from the pans of news everywhere. All right, let's get to the news. All right, folks, welcome to the most trusted news in your evenings here on the Paranormal Portal, and that is the Paranormal Portal News. And so I've curated several articles for us to go over tonight and see if we can teach you something you didn't already know, and hopefully you leave here a little bit more knowledgeable than you came. The first article up for bat tonight here on the newscast is from unexplained-mysteries.com. Again, please help support this site. It's an incredible site. I just love it. And they got a new compendium of all the weird news articles that they've curated through the years. It's called The Weird News, and you'll see it on the screen right now. It's over here on the right. If you like some of the stuff we cover here on the shows, you're going to love Weird News by T.K. Randall. And I guess it's available on Amazon, so check it out. That's something I'm going to be actually ordering myself. But anyway, the first article up is Camper Films Black Panther feeding on a dead sheep in England. Now this is interesting because there was just a video I saw today of someone had caught a large black cat in what was it? It was in Australia, but I'm trying to remember the region, and it was really compelling footage. So, but this one is one of eating a sheep, I guess. It says the footage, which reportedly shows an exotic black cat, has generated some heated debate since appearing online. According to reports, 17-year-old Josh Williams had been out wild camping with a friend at the Peak District when they spotted something unexpected in a nearby field. Grabbing his phone, he began recording what he believed to be a large black cat, possibly a panther. As they watched, it became apparent that the animal was feeding on what looked like a sheep carcass. We were both confused when we first saw it, he said. We stood staring at it, questioning what it could be for around 5 minutes before I decided to start recording so that I could zoom in and get a better look. We tried attracting its attention so that it would turn and face us so that we could get a better understanding of what we were looking at. We honestly had no idea what it could be, if not a big cat. But does this footage really show a black panther feeding on a farm animal in the British countryside? As it stands, it's quite difficult to make out exactly what's in the video. The fact that the clip is so short and doesn't show the animal walking away afterwards doesn't really help matters either. Some argue that the video could be an optical illusion and that the panther is in fact a cow sitting down. You can check out the footage for yourself below. What do you think? Well, here's what's curious, just from the still frame. Those of you that are listening and not seeing the screen, you may not understand, but it looks like a video where there's a black mass, looks like it's perched over something in the field, but behind it, there's just a sheep kind of hanging out. And you'd think if it was truly a predator, these sheep would be much more, I don't know, skittish and trying to get the hell away. But I don't know. I don't know how sheep react. I assume they don't hang around when predators are around, but it's anybody's guess. I don't really. What was that, Sheldon? Sorry.
I was going to ask if you're going to play the video.
I guess we could play it. I'm just going to mute it, though, because I don't want any footage. It's only 18 seconds long, if it comes up at all. Here we go. And there's the footage. I will put a link. It does look like it's got a long tail behind it over here. So it could very well be, but I'll put a link of this in the TFR chat as well, and you guys can check it out and see what you think. I don't know. It's possible. Could be.
That's it. Wow.
Yeah. It's hard to get a scale from these things, just from these little images, I guess, It's hard to really know what you're looking at because they're so far away. And I don't know if that was as zoomed as he could get, but they were definitely at a distance if that's the case. So I don't know. There's been legends of big cats over in England and in Australia for as long as I've been into this subject. And that's been quite a while. So I don't know. There's like Dartmoor in the UK where there's a big cat, I think is what it is, Dartmoor. And many people have claimed to see these things. Now, a lot of people do suggest that the big cats being there are not necessarily paranormal or even cryptid, but are probably the result of laws coming down in the 70s where people that had exotic pets were no longer allowed to keep them. In the UK. And so people kind of just went, okay, go be free, live.
Oh, no.
And they just let them go. So I think that's probably a bad idea and a long history of bad ideas, but apparently they're not really taking people or anything that I know of. So that's kind of an interesting take. What's that?
The weird thing about that video is exactly what you were saying, is that the other sheep are just hanging out, chilling. Like, if something was being attacked, wouldn't they be...
Well, they did say they thought it was already dead and it was just lunching on it. But, in any case, I don't know. If you saw saw something tearing your friend apart, wouldn't you just get the hell away? I think I would. Yeah. I'd be like, nope, I'm going to go over here, the other side of the pasture. But anyway, that's the first one up on deck tonight. So did you know that before? If not, you're welcome. Next up is also from unexplained-mysteries.com. And this is an article having to do with a woman having an NDE, or a near-death experience. And I find these absolutely phenomenal and fascinating because, NDEs could very well be the first glimpses that we have of what happens after we die. And some of the stories are absolutely fascinating. We've covered a number of them on the show here. So if you haven't really looked into NDEs, I really would encourage you to do that because it's a fascinating phenomena. And I think it's a very real phenomena as well. This seems to demonstrate the survival of the consciousness following our body death. But this one is woman who had NDE can't wait to go back. Yeah, I don't imagine that's probably, that's the other thing that comes out a lot of these is that people that have NDEs are no longer scared to die, because we're all afraid of the unknown. What happens? What if nothing happens? What if it's horrible? So I think it's very powerful when people have these visions, and then they can look towards that transition we're all going to make with maybe even eagerness. That's kind of a good thing. So a woman who had a transformative near-death experience is now looking forward to experiencing it all again. Seeing events flashing before your eyes, observing a bright light at the end of a tunnel, or feeling as though you're floating above your own body are just some of the things commonly described by patients who have had a near-death experience. Others, meanwhile, recall meeting lost loved ones or even encountering divine beings. When 78-year-old Betty Eady died for a brief time during a hysterectomy operation, her own near-death experience was so profound that she now can't wait to go back and experience it again. It began, as many such experiences do, with her floating in the air looking down at her own body. She was then told by 3 really ancient men that she had in fact passed on. The next thing she knew, she was seeing members of her family all around her. My husband was sitting in the armchair, and I stood next to him, and I was concerned because he didn't know I had died, nor had my children, and I was worried for all of them, she told Inside Edition. But then I was given a glimpse into their futures and shown that they'd all lead good lives. She even recalled meeting who she believed to be Jesus Christ at the end of a tunnel, who hugged her and told her that it was not yet her time. Before she knew it, she was back in her own body again. The experience, however, has had a distinct and profound impact on her life. I want to go back, she says. Wow, very powerful, huh, Sheldon?
Can't blame that at all, like you were saying.
Yeah, I mean, I wish everybody had the ability to see that experience, and I don't know that sounds appropriate at all. I mean, I don't want everybody to go. Yeah, I don't want everybody to have to be in a near-death situation or dying and then being revived. But just imagine how much easier that would make this transition, that we all are going to face. I mean, it's the one eventuality that's going to come for us all, and so to look forward to that, I think, is a very powerful thing. So, near-death experiences, folks. If you do want to look into it, I would recommend some books by Dr. Raymond Moody. He did a lot of studies. I read several of his books and was just fascinated with his work. And he worked a lot with children, which I thought was incredibly powerful because, as he says, they don't have the predefined ideas of what's supposed to happen. They're just children. They're just, open, innocent minds. And still, the scenarios were very consistent with what adults, purportedly experience as well. So very cool. But near-death experiences, who would have known? All right, let's get to the next one. And up next on the newscast is from Unexplained-Mysteries, of course. But the article this time is, what the hell is it? How long is this? Is one we're not going to read. It's way too long. I was like, what did I pull up here? Oh, yeah, I didn't look at the length of it. That's my foggy cold head. So we're not going to read that one. Let's get to the next article, which is the one hopefully we're going to read. And this is from unexplained-mysteries.com as well. This one's kind of cute. Woman discovers raccoon lounging around in her hammock. Look at that. Aw. That's adorable. One Philadelphia resident discovered a rather unexpected visitor making itself comfortable on her porch. Sarah McAnulty, who hails from city's Fishtown area, had been working at home when she heard an unexplained rustling noise and decided to go take a peek outside her window to investigate. I got a cat hair in my eye or something. When she discovered, much to her surprise, was a fully grown raccoon lounging around in a hammock that she had set up on her porch. Grabbing a flashlight and her phone, she captured a few seconds of video footage of the visitor through the window and posted it up on Twitter. "Excuse me, who taught the raccoon on my back porch how to use the hammock?" she wrote. The clip quickly went viral and has since racked up over 780,000 views. Even after being spotted, the raccoon didn't seem in the least bit bothered and ended up spending the entire night chilling on her porch without a care in the world. You can check out the clip for yourself below. Well, I guess we could. Let me put a link over in TFR and we'll check out the clip because, by God, why not? I think we all should see a raccoon in a hammock. Nobody's life is going to be complete until you watch this raccoon in the hammock. So let's see what a raccoon in the hammock looks like. Aw. That's adorable. That's crazy.
Not even afraid.
He's just hanging out, loving it. He's just digging the whole raccoon or hammock thing. Yeah, that's a good life. He just comes and hangs out. I saw a video just the other day of somebody had put out a trail cam looking for game and stuff as they were looking to hunt a property, and so they placed out a trail cam, and it was near this swing. There was like a rope swing with a board to sit on, and for some reason they zeroed in on that, and they caught a mountain lion sitting there playing with the swing like you'd imagine a house cat would do, right?
Oh, I've seen that video. Yeah.
It was just adorable. It's like, oh, a little fella. They're cute when they're like that, but it's all teeth and fangs. It all changes everything. But at least in that state, they look real innocent and playful. And even raccoons. Now, I have the distinction of having lived with a raccoon, and I can tell you, they will get into everything possible, and they're incredible problem solvers. They are incredibly good at it. In the house that I was in, there was this row of drawers from the floor to the counter in the kitchen. And, anything you wanted to keep away from the raccoon, you'd put up on the counter. Well, he knew all that stuff was up there. He just had to figure out how to get to it. And so he ended up pulling out the bottom drawer, hopping in that, pulling out the next drawer, hopping in that one, pulling out the next drawer, hopping in that one, and then up onto the counter. He made it like a series of stairs. It was just like, oh my God, you little genius. So the counter was no longer a safe place. Although I will tell you too, with raccoons, as a side note, they will put their hands in everything. And their reaction is what you might imagine when they put their hands in, like, say, hot coffee. Because there was a hot cup of coffee up there, and he did the stairs thing and went up on there. Somebody had walked away from it, and he put his hand in the coffee and was like, ooh, 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 took it out and shook it. Yeah, so they are mischievous little bastards, but they're cute. They're really cute.
Beautiful trash pandas.
Yeah, trash pandas, yeah, exactly. Is that a compliment?
To me, it is. I think they're adorable.
Yeah, no, I think they are too. They're incredible animals, but they, the male ones, at least when they get to be a certain age, they kind of remember that they're wild all of a sudden, and then they're not so cute anymore. It's like, yeah.
Oh yeah, you talked about the stories.
Yeah, I got a bucket full of stories of that little jerk, but he was adorable, cute, but man, he loved me and hated me all at once. It was crazy. But anyway, that's that article. Let's get on with the rest of our news for tonight. And this one is kind of interesting. I don't know how long it is, so I didn't look at the length of this one either. But it's talking about Saturn, and this is more of astronomy and space. But no, it doesn't look too long at all. So this one is from unexplained-mysteries.com. Did Saturn kill one of its own moons? The evidence is in its rings.
Oh.
A new study has further cemented the notion that Saturn's rings are made up of what's left of one of its former moons. The gas giant Saturn, which lies between Jupiter and Uranus... Sorry. I'm just such a kid. Is perhaps the most spectacular of all the planets in the outer solar system, owing to its distinctive and stunning rings. This impressive feature, however, has long been shrouded in mystery. How did the rings get there, and why are they so much younger than the planet Saturn itself? Now a new study headed up by MIT's Jack Wisdom. His last name is Wisdom? Oh, nice. You knew that guy was going to be a professor.
Oh, yeah.
Dr. Wisdom, I presume. Has further cemented a theory that has been around for years, suggesting that Saturn's rings are in fact comprised with the remains of a moon that strayed too close and was broken up by the gas giant's intense gravitational field. This idea, Wilson argues, also explains Saturn's peculiar tilt. The tilt is too large to be the result of a known formation process or protoplanetary disk or from later large collisions, he said. A variety of explanations has been offered, but none is totally convincing. The cool thing is that the previously unexplained young age of the rings is naturally explained in our scenario. It's this long-lost moon named Chrysalis would have been just like any of Saturn's other 83 moons until at some point between 100 and 200 million years ago, when the gravitational field of Titan, Saturn's largest moon, began to disrupt its orbit, sending it on a one-way path to disaster. Once it began breaking apart, most of it would have likely been consumed by Saturn itself before the remnants ended up being scattered around the planet to form the rings. So there you go. The rings of Saturn might be a former moon. Cool, right?
Nice.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
There you go. Again, you're welcome.
Learning something new every day on this show.
Well, that's good. Yeah, some of it's actually good too. You can always learn what an idiot I am just by tuning in, but other than that, no. All right, next one up, unexplained-mysteries.com. Man claims woman turned into a donkey. No, that's just the liquor wearing off. Thank you. Nothing? No? No? Okay.
I'm sorry, I actually wasn't listening. I was reading the title.
Man claims woman turned into a donkey, and I said, no, that's just when the liquor wore off. A man. Okay. All right. Little post-mortem laughter there. I appreciate it.
Nice.
After my joke died, then you laugh. Perfect. Thank you, Sheldon. This is an old one from October 27, 2011. A man from Zimbabwe says he is in love with a woman of the night who he believes is transformed into a donkey. I think I'm also a donkey. I do not know what happened when I left the bar, but I'm seriously in love with the donkey, he said. A Zimbabwe court has remanded the man in custody pending charges of, inappropriateness and has ordered him to undertake a full mental examination. Yeah, there's got to be a
joke. Turned out to be kind of right.
Yeah, I know. I hadn't read it before, so I didn't know. But yeah, that's just weird. That's weird. Okay, well, it's definitely not normal, so it's kind of paranormal. Let's get on to the next one while we still have some sanity left here. All right, the next one up, of course, is from unexplained-mystery.com. This one's kind of a cool one. It's also from 2011, but I was digging through the archives a bit. And man surfs on the back of a great white shark. Doug Nieblack was surfing when he hit something hard and found himself standing on the back of a shark. It was pretty terrifying just seeing the large shape emerge out of nothing and just being under me, he said. Looking down at his feet, Doug could see the shark's dorsal fin in front of him and a full 10 feet of the shark's back. And the fin coming out of the water, it was just like the movies. Oh my God. I think I'd give up surfing at that point. It's like, nope, I'm good. I'm good. No more of that. So, I don't know. What do you think of that, Sheldon?
That's terrifying. That is horrible. That is the worst scenario.
I mean, what would you do? Because if you fall in the water, it's like, God, that's going to eat me. It's going to turn around and consume me. So I guess you'd really try to balance pretty carefully.
Yeah, that's what I would say. Yeah.
You look like the old Aquaman cartoons from the 70s. He's like riding on two dolphins like they're water skis.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so it's not, sometimes we look at stuff in the cartoons and think, oh God, this is no basis in reality until now. Now it's plausible. You could maybe surf on dolphins outside of SeaWorld, but yeah, that's crazy. A shark, but I don't know. I've heard that they don't actually like to eat people, these great white shark, that they don't really like the taste of us a whole bunch, but they sometimes eat people just because they mistake them for like seals or something else. But anyway, there's the bell, folks. We'll be right back after these messages. Don't go away. God, we're back. Ladies and gentlemen, back to the second half hour of the show. Hope you guys are doing good. By the way, have you seen Jake in here?
I haven't actually.
Okay, because he had sent in a story, and I was going to read it tonight, but I'll wait and see if he shows up. Maybe we'll hold it till tomorrow if he doesn't show up. So
Okay.
we'll wait and see if Jake shows up. But you know what we're going to do now, right, Sheldon?
Shout outs.
Oh, yeah, I guess we could do that. Sure. Go ahead.
Okay. So if you want to shout out, go ahead and type in YouTube chat. But for now, we have Deb Varner, Diane Fowler, Donald Fuller, Elaine Clifford, Eric A.K. Purple Hobbit Abroad, Isaac Areola, Consquatch, Mere Nuisance, Ninja Dave, You're Here, Cherry Moon is here, Rachel Gets It Right, Ruger Ridge, Sandra Piper, I'm here, T-Boy Teens here, The Pharmacy Seeds Network, and The Unknown, is here.
And over in TFR, we got Bam's over there, Gemini's over there, and also Ra Castaldo. The Eye of Ra, of course, is another show. He's a fellow broadcaster on TFR Live. So good to see you, brother. Thanks for coming in, all of you guys. Thank you so much. Hey, Bam. And much love to you, Ra. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. So actually what I was going to say is I thought it'd be a good time for us to talk about Discord.
Of course.
So go ahead. Talk about Discord.
Oh, okay.
Then I don't have to talk.
All right, just a quick summary. Each week, each day, we have a question of the week already ready to go for you guys to kind of get your thoughts, get us all involved with the unknown, really. So for today's question, actually, you know what? I'll actually post a link to the Discord if you want to join and get involved with that right in the chat. But for today's question, we have... Get to it.
Are you there? Oh, there.
Aha! There we go. Found it. All right. UFO/UAP sightings and abductions are often attributed to the intelligences from distant stars or galaxies. Do you believe these visitors are from the distant reaches of space, or do you believe that they may have a different origin? First responder is Ginger Pick, says, I read Nick Redfern's final events around 9 years ago. It resonated with me and blew my mind at the same time. Explaining the similarities between alien abductions and demonic attacks/possessions from years ago. I certainly like to think there are good aliens out there with our best interests in their agenda, unlike all our current governments. But I fear there's also deception abound with regard to some alien sightings/experiences. And I don't necessarily mean from those who experience such things, as it must be terrifying. I love looking up at the stars and planets, and I'm lucky that the sky locally isn't hidden by light pollution. I live in the south coast of southwest England. Nice. Not seen OWT, not seen...
What?
I don't know. It says, not seen OWT weird for years.
Okay.
Last UFO sighting looked like a Mickey Mouse ears, I know. Perfect circles side by side and appeared joined. Almost transparent but visible. Disappeared behind clouds, then re-emerged. I was stone cold sober, lol, and it was a sunny afternoon with a few clouds. Definitely not weather balloons. I was weirded out, but I have no idea what it could have been. Have a grand day.
Oh, very cool. Yeah.
Have you heard of Mickey Mouse ears UFOs? Any stories about that?
No, I haven't. I mean, I've heard of orbs being in groups and merging and dismerging, but not necessarily circles coming and going. But there are plenty of reports of morphing UFOs, so I'm sure they can maybe pick their own size and shape, I guess, to a degree.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. Rigger Ridge says could be both. We know more about space than the ocean. There's a lot of reports of USOs.
Yep, unidentified submersible objects. Yep.
Yeah, good point. T-Boy says, I think these crafts are a few different things. Spiritual beings or interdimensional. nuts and bolts craft with extraterrestrial beings, and nuts and bolts craft flown by humans who receive the knowledge to make them from other beings.
Mm-hmm.
I wish there was room to state everything I'd like about this topic, but that would resemble a book in your comment section. That's fair. That's
Fair enough, yeah.
One point I'd like to make is one person or group of people who guarantee the sighting is Dr. Stephen Greer and his crowd. They go about this through meditation and whatnot, the same way people would go about connecting to what they believe to be a spiritual guide.
Mm-hmm.
I think their nature is different than that, but I guess it's relevant for this discussion.
Sure.
Why would technologically advanced being who came from light years away give a rip about a small group of people meditating unless they're not from light years away and have been right there watching the whole time,
Good
waiting
point.
to deceive people when possible?
Good point, yeah.
T-Boy also then responds to Ginger Pig. Noted the similarities between alien abduction and age-old demonic attacks. Add that a group at MUFON?
MUFON. Yep, Mutual UFO Network. Yep.
Okay. Realized that in every single case of alien contact where the name of Jesus was used, the fearful experience was immediately over.
Mm-hmm.
I think that gives some insight to their nature of the beings flying these crafts. Another point is modern. The UFO phenomenon started after Jack Pearson and
Parsons.
L. Robin Hubbard. Oh, Parsons. Yep, I see that. The same guy who wrote
Dianetics. Yeah.
Dianetics. Okay.
Scientology.
For those of. Oh, okay. Scientology. Yeah. Did a satanic ritual in the desert where they claimed to have opened a portal and things came through. Shortly after said ritual, the Roswell incident took place. I didn't know that. An interesting note is that they were followers of Crowley, who years prior drew a picture of his spirit guide, Lamb, which looked exactly like a gray alien. Crowley stated, "Today they call them angels and demons. Tomorrow they'll call them something else." Is that what's happening?
Good points, yeah. Very good points.
I had no idea about that. That's really interesting.
I know, that's why I love this discussions. I love it. You guys bring so much to the table. It's amazing.
Oh, yes. I love it when you guys do that. Thank you so much. Lily Pond says, interdimensional, subterranean, other galaxies, underwater, first engineered by us. Blizzard suits. Yep, all the above is most likely.
Very true.
Fourth color response, agreed with everything said here. Wanted to add that I always liked the idea of some of it could be us from the future. I've actually had that same thought.
Yeah.
Wondered about that.
Mm-hmm.
Rachel 101 says, they could be from other worlds in this universe, but there's a possibility they're from this Earth, but from the future. Different ideas add to the mystery of who they are. It may be something both extraordinary or potentially mundane. But it could be, yeah.
Sure.
Alien tourists watching this strange life on Earth, future Earthlings studying how Earth was in their past. Also, the Fae seem to fit into some early stories of encounters.
Sure it does, yeah.
Some could be Earth elementals who appearances is their choice, or only that our minds place over their true form. Oh, God, that's a good point. God, so many good points. I love it, guys.
Yeah.
ZX81V2 says there's also the parallel reality option. Other life forms occupy the same space as us, but not the same phase dimensional shift.
Mm-hmm.
Other life form figured out how to jump between these dimensions, they would instantly appear. The story of the bloke from Venus, for instance, just because Venus is a hellhole us in this dimension, doesn't mean it would be in another dimension.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, that's a really good point.
Oh, my God.
Yep.
All right. Sliders, old TV show, good example. Actually, don't know that. Do you know that, Dad?
Sliders, yeah. I watched it a little bit. Yep. Those are
unpacking all this. Yeah, what is your thoughts?
Well, I think everybody's really amazingly gone over things I hadn't even really considered. So that's really cool. That's why I love these dialogues, and that's the spirit of using our Discord chat as a way to tie into the shows as well. To try to unify the community of Paranormal Portal, and I think it could be all of the above. It could be maybe just based on our inability to understand, we may perceive that as transdimensional. We may perceive it as extraterrestrial, far from the stars, or we may perceive it in some other manner. Maybe they're here, like was pointed out, just out of phase. I like that a lot because I do consider that, and many people have brought it up through the years too, but our eyes can only see a certain spectrum of light, our ears can only hear a certain range of sound, and so it's all vibration. Even light is vibration. Where the
Yeah, it's good.
ultraviolet is highly, high amplitudes and quick, and infrared is low and much broader, wider wavelengths. But what was I going to say? There was something that was really, really just jumped into my head. Oh, I don't like having a cold. I'm so foggy. But yeah, every point brought into here has been phenomenal. Oh, I remember what I was going to say is that there are those people that believe that part of the reason that we are smashing atoms and colliders is to open portals and to communicate with beings from other dimensions. And so maybe we're on the road to discovering that, and that harkens back to maybe this is a future version of ourselves just jumping through a portal and coming to look at what we're up to and how things were. So just brilliant, guys. You guys nailed it for sure, and brought a whole bunch to the table that I wasn't even expecting. I was expecting some good, well thought out responses, but yeah, you guys nailed it. Good job.
Blew it out of the water. My expectations. That was awesome.
Hi,
Wow.
Mercedes. How you doing? Good to see you. Thanks for coming in. Oh, I'm
Now,
sorry.
where do you lean as far as what theory do you lean towards?
I don't pretend to know, honestly. And that's not just a safe answer. I just don't know because all of them make sense to me. And that's the
Yeah, in
hard
different
part.
ways. Yeah.
And maybe it's several things, like the paranormal is several things. Maybe we just call them UFOs, but they are several different independent phenomena happening, but we perceive it as the same. Like everything we perceive, we have to translate somehow to our own, our intelligence, to our ego to understand it. And so maybe it's just a whole lot of misinterpreting. Maybe some of these are just energetic beings all in their own. Maybe they're not actually UFOs, but they appear like they're light beings or something, and we perceive those as things like orbs and such. Who knows? It's just great ideas. So
Oh, kind of like maybe one person will see an UFO, but another person might see an orb in that similar scenario or something around those lines.
sure. Well, I mean, orb UFOs are basically these glowing balls of light that are people are observing,
Yeah.
and we assume that they could be some kind of drone craft or something from, some autonomous drone doing some research or checking things out. But what if it is a distinct life form, and that's how it appears to us? And I think about Star Trek, especially the Next Generation, where they're encountering all these things, including energetic beings and stuff. And I'm not trying to go all sci-fi here, but honestly, that's a very plausible possibility too. Is that some of these are an independent being of their own. They're not craft; they are the being themselves. And oddly enough, people don't talk about that too much, but I think that that's plausible as well.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. I personally lean towards that humans are an experiment and a mix,
Yeah, yeah.
but that they're observing us type of thing. That's
Could
where I
be.
lean.
Could be. We could be the experiment that they're just monitoring. You never know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Exactly.
was just hearing today that there's some scientists that believe that we are literally in a simulation, and of course that idea has been around for a long time. But I guess it's gaining some steam. Like a lot more people are kind of looking at the strangeness of this incarnation and the weirdness of us being so unnatural to the environment we're in. It's like we have to put on clothes, we have to build shelters, we have to, how did our forebears do this? And apparently there's some argument that our genome has not changed for the last 300,000 years, which puts us outside of the Darwinism idea of evolution. But everything else has an evolutionary pathway, but we really don't. We have these other hominid beings that seem to be part of this world and have an evolution of a fossil record, but we really don't. We just kind of appear. It's what it sounds like, and that's an interesting idea as well. I think I was watching something with Greg Braden from the Gaia Network, and he was talking about that. It's like, huh. And I again, I don't pretend to have enough knowledge to really weigh in with any sincerity, but I think it's all very plausible.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
So cool, guys. Thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, that's what, if you'd like to get involved with our Discord community, again, Sheldon had put the link in the chat and on YouTube. If you're interested in looking into it more and becoming a part of these discussions, you guys in the chat can also comment. I didn't see any, Gaius, so little space, so little space in Discord. Light beings was another thought. Amaru and Quetzalcoatl, okay, we're fiery plumed serpents. Some of these look like snakes of light. Yeah, good point, T-Bowie. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, we can't take huge responses, but the responses you guys did was amazing. So thank you, and please get involved in the Discord. We'd love to have you participate in these discussions as well. And basically, we're just doing these questions like hours or a night before the live show. So there's going to be 3 questions per week. So there'll be another one we'll put up tonight for tomorrow's show, and we'll talk about that tomorrow night. So love to have you participate in this. And there's also just tons of great information that people have linked into the Discord from, all these months and months that we've had the site. You guys have done amazing with posting up material that we all can check out and see what we think and have discussions about it. So thank you guys for all of you that are participating on the Discord. You're amazing, and it's growing pretty good.
Donald Fuller asks, are these orbs the same thing World War II pilots observed, calling them Foo Fighters?
Yeah, pretty much. I think they're probably one and the same. I don't know. The Foo Fighters were kind of just this nebulous term, but they were these balls of light were most commonly observed, shadowing aircraft and stuff. But there's some variety of sightings too, and interestingly enough, apparently over Ukraine, they're seeing a lot of weird activity in their skies as well that they can't quite figure out what it is. Now, some of it I'm sure is probably things like, Elon Musk's Starlink that he, sent a bunch of satellites over to keep them connected so that they weren't cut off from the world and could communicate. So some of it could be just, normal satellite or what would seem to be erratic behavior from satellites, but it could just be some Starlink stuff. But others of it, I don't know. I mean, there's a long history, as was just mentioned, about UFOs appearing in, during wartime, like they're watching real close. And so who knows? It'd be nice if they would just intercede once in a while.
I mean, I remember reading about. It could be propaganda, but it's possible that there were UFOs sighted during this Ukraine conflict.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I was just talking about. Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right. Okay, my bad.
Yeah, no worries. It's okay. It's okay. I was supposed to put this up there. Now it's up there. I had made a little header for it. Question of the week. I forgot to put it up there. Cold head, all foggy up here. Yeah, Mercedes, I have been under the weather. I'm definitely dragging my butt tonight more than usual, but I love doing the shows. So it takes a big stick to keep me away from this computer. Just saying. But thank you to those of you that contributed, and we'll continue on. Tonight, there will be a new question for tomorrow. So if you're not already involved in Discord, get involved. And I know some of you don't know Discord, but it really is pretty easy to learn. It's pretty quick to learn, but we do have a tutorial section on our channel too. That was a suggestion from, I don't know who came up with that, if it was 12 Pearls that said that, to start a tutorial section. And then Sheldon put one together with some video links that'll help walk you through how to do it, how to work on Discord. So that's a great help. All right. So thank you for participating. What?
I don't know. Diana is saying, could you put up a link for your membership to join the channel? I'm guessing that's the join button?
Yeah, it's the join button just underneath the chat. So if you see that, and thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you to the members that we have, and you guys have been amazing, and it really does help a lot. It's a tough time to ask people to give anything, because I think we're all kind of looking forward and not sure what's going to be happening. But thank you to those of you that have been able to. But please don't feel compelled. I mean, it's wonderful if you're able to, but the last thing I'd ever want anyone to do is to provide money that they really don't have. That would make me feel horrible. So
Don't break the bank.
now, we love your support when you're able to give it, but if you can't, it's perfectly fine too. Just thank you for being here. Like the streams, recommend the channel to people. That would be a big, big help in a way that doesn't cost anything. So share the videos, those two. So,
Yeah.
but anyway, are there one-on-one hour long course on how to use it? Well, there's a section on our Discord channel, and it's called Discord Tutorial. It's in the left-hand panel. If you're in our channel, it's on the left-hand panel under the discussion category. So it's the top one up there. And there's videos you can walk through that'll teach you a little more about Discord and how to navigate it. So
it's easy once you get used to it.
Yeah.
It's a little different, but once you get used to it, it'll be fine.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right. So thank you to those of you for participating in our Discord questions of the week. And again, there'll be another one up for tomorrow. So now I got to turn this off. There it is. All right. So we're gonna be going to break in 4 minutes, but I'm gonna try to get this up so I can read one of the things from the article we've been covering. But Jake didn't come in yet? Okay.
Haven't seen him yet, no.
Okay. Well, hopefully he'll make it in, but maybe tomorrow he'll make it, if not tonight. And I'll save it for when he's here, because that was really cool that he sent that in. So
Hardwick Big D, thank you so much.
Aw, yeah, thanks a bunch. Aw, thank you, Lily.
Lily!
Aw, two claps. Thank you. Y'all get the clap.
Oh, okay, don't, yeah.
She'll say, okay, don't do that.
Yeah, chill
out. Let's not do that. Okay, I already finished that one. So we got about 3 minutes left. I thought we had some things to finish up, but we don't. So, yeah, I don't know. What was I going to say? Sheldon?
Oh, your fog brain. Oh, no.
I'm telling you,
you hadn't even hinted at it, so I don't even know what you're going.
Things are coming in my head and going out of my head so quickly, and I get distracted. And it's a combination of being sick and then the cold medicines. It's just like I'm fighting through this blanket of consciousness. And, but again, I love doing the shows. It's not that. When we come back from break, we're going to jump into some stories here. There's a UFO story that I want to get into next following this, and it's from How and Wise, and it's alien abduction of Linda Napolitano that was pulled up into giant UFO. 23 people witnessed this. I think it happened in Manhattan, and this is a very well-known case, and so we're going to read an article about that and talk about what's explained in there. But it still stands today as one of the most observed abduction ever. I don't think there's ever been an abduction that happened in broad daylight with so many witnesses going, oh my God. I mean, could you imagine how would that be to be just looking like you're going to work or something and you look out of your window and somebody's getting sucked out of an apartment window up into a craft?
Wow, that'd be reality shattering. A lot of people.
It really would be. So we're going to cover an article on that when we get back, and then we got a whole bunch more. Later in the show, we're going to get into some Phantoms and Monsters reports, and also some telephone calls. There's an article and I've read the short form of this story many times through the history of the show, but this is a more comprehensive retelling of it. But it's a case of a man who was in a train wreck, and he was calling his loved ones repeatedly through the time, and they ended up finding his body and realizing that he died on impact. So it's all these strange ghost phone calls that were absolutely amazing. And there's phone records of it too, so they know when the train crashed. Post-mortem examination says the guy died on impact, and yet he was still calling people. So a fantastically bizarre story, but I love those too, because it just seems to me that when we die, we are energy. And certainly paranormal investigators will vouch for the fact that ghosts oftentimes mess with energy stuff like lights, TVs, radios, computers, etc. And I think that's because being in an energetic state, it's not hard to manipulate the energies of an object. So could he have been causing his phone to call, or was it just some weird quirk? I don't know. But we're going to get into that when we come back as well. So there's a lot on deck still for the show. We've got a lot to get through. And so we'll get as far as we can. And what we don't finish up tonight, we'll finish up tomorrow night. So lots to do. We're going to go to the break just in a few seconds here. So for those of you that are new to the show, we do these breaks because we're also simulcasting on TFR Live, iHeart, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live networks, and they have to take breaks. So just to keep it all in sync, we take breaks here on YouTube too. So we'll be right back after these messages.
Play their games. Everybody loves to place their bets. They don't understand the price I paid. They don't care to comprehend. Trace their lines upon my body, flipping scars across my heart. Raging anger pours inside me as their lies keep falling apart. With my silence, I am not a stupid boy. No more breaking me with kindness, just you dance upon my joy. Leading me with empty promise, you're just another fucking mess. Taking off the slice of my sanity, just make sure that you're well fed.
From which they cannot wake. I can't see you, Mommy. Where are you? I've never sensed anything like it. Carol Ann is not like those she's with. They're attracted to the one thing about her that's different from themselves. Her life force. It is very strong. It gives off its own illumination. It is a light that implies life and memory of love and home and earthly pleasures. Something they desperately desire, but can't have anymore. Right now, she's the closest thing to that.
Poltergeists are usually associated with an individual. Hauntings seem to be connected with an area. A house, usually.
Poltergeist disturbance is of fairly short duration, perhaps a couple of months. Hauntings can go on for years.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're into hour number 2 here on the Paranormal Portal, so we got a lot more fun-filled paranormal goodness to bring you, because that's what we do. And good to see you, Haxer. Thanks, brother. It's good to see you back. Haxer's been around. He's been a friend of the show for years and years. And he's a genius in the mixology department. That man knows every drink and makes up his own. It's just incredible. He sent out barreled cream a couple of Christmases, and it was just amazing. Amazing stuff. It's just phenomenal. I can't even describe it, but he's the man.
Did you save any?
Yeah, no.
Oh, no.
No, sorry. I can't do it. I can't be asked to do such things. It's more than I could bear. I couldn't.
It will be an unknown then to me.
Why? It may be. It doesn't mean I won't save things in the future, but I'm just saying. I didn't save that. I think it does have a shelf life, so.
Fair enough.
You don't want to leave it on the shelf for years and try to. Maybe not. I don't know, Haxer. Does that stuff have a shelf life, or is it just store fine until you open it?
See how selfish he was, yeah.
I was under the impression that you didn't have, a year or so to drink it. You kind of had to put it away in a hurry. Yeah, we don't have any here. Yeah, I know.
Share with the class.
I think everybody should try it. It's just amazing stuff. All right, so we're going to get into that article from Hows and Wise at this point, again, dealing with that, one of the more famous abduction scenarios ever to come about. And what made it so different was it was in broad daylight. It was in Manhattan, I think, if this is the same one. And it was witnessed by several people. And so it wasn't just this person saying, I had this weird experience. It was witnessed, or weird experience was witnessed by people. So that's the article we're getting into, and it's howsandwise.com. An alien abduction of Linda Napolitano that was pulled up into a giant UFO with 23 witnesses. Around 45% of, and this is by Vicky Verma from 2 years ago. So around 45% of Americans believe that UFOs exist and have visited Earth, while 25% believe that aliens have similar societies like humans, according to Ipsos 2020 report. There are many victims who claim to have been abducted by small gray-colored humanoids, grays, and then taken into a spaceship for some experiments or mating among them. Linda Napolitano's case is the most well-documented UFO encounter. Linda Napolitano, who uses the pseudonym Linda Cortile, a young woman in her 20s, claimed that on November 1989 she had been pulled by gray humanoids from her bedroom window while her husband was asleep next to her. Soon after this horrific incident, she contacted Bud Hopkins, an American UFO researcher who even wrote a book entitled The True Story of the Brooklyn Bridge UFO Abductions, describing the UFO events that occurred on November 30th, 1989. Napolitano, an Italian-American young woman, has said that on November 20th at 3:15 in the morning, I guess it wasn't broad daylight, sorry, she suddenly woke up finding herself paralyzed and saw 3 non-human figures, gray in color, with big heads that were floating in her bedroom. She could not call her husband as the beings told her in their language to stay quiet. She was pulled by a blue beam from her apartment's window on the 12th floor in Manhattan. She was levitating inside that beam with 3 other aliens until they reached a giant spaceship that opened like a clam. Yikes. They open like clams. I'm standing up on nothing, and they take me all the way up, way above the building. Ooh, I hope I don't fall. The UFO opens up almost like a clam, and then I'm inside. And I see benches similar to regular benches, and they're bringing me down a hallway. Doors open like sliding doors. Inside are all these lights and buttons, and a big, long table. I don't want to get up on that table. They got me up on the table anyway, and they start saying things to me, and I'm yelling. I can still yell. And one of them says something that sounds like knobby egg, which I think they were trying to tell me to be quiet because he put his hand over my mouth. So if you ever get abducted, remember, knobby egg means shut up. That's alien. We just all learned some alien today. Napolitano could not remember much about what happened inside the ship, but she recalled some sort of medical examinations that had been done on her, and she remembered that I guess she had passed out through some procedures. Besides, she remembered that one of the aliens put something into her nasal cavity, and the pain was so unbearable that she lost her consciousness. 3 hours later, she surprisingly found herself lying next to her husband, who was still sleeping. Interestingly, she did an x-ray of her head, and the doctor found something strange lodged inside of her nose. This encounter was not just limited to Napolitano. There were other witnesses, 2 security guards, Richard and Dan, confirmed to have been watching Napolitano with 3 humanoids being pulled up a large UFO hovering near her apartment. One of the guards felt guilty for not helping her and even suffered a nervous breakdown. Yikes. And there's Bud Hopkins there for those of you on YouTube. There was an oval-shaped object hovering over the top of the apartment building 2 or 3 blocks up from where we sat. We didn't know where it came from. It just happened too fast. Its lights turned from bright reddish orange to whitish blue coming out of the bottom. Green lights rotated around the edge of the saucer. A little girl or woman wearing a white gown sailed out of the window in a fetal position and then stood in midair in this beam of light. I could see 3 of the ugliest creatures I ever saw. I don't know what they were. They weren't human. Their heads were out of proportion, very large heads with no hair. Those buggers were escorting her up into the craft. My partner screamed, "We've got to help to get them." We tried to get out of the car but couldn't. After the woman was escorted in, the oval turned reddish orange again and whisked off. And I guess that's her. Actually, Hopkins got his interest in Napolitano's case after he received a letter from Richard and Dan in 1991, and upon researching more on these 2 men, Hopkins found out that they were bodyguards of an important political figure. Hopkins reportedly believes they were the bodyguards of former UN statements Javier Perez de Cuellar, or I don't know how you say that for sure. The founder and director of Mutual UFO Network, Walter H. Andros, strongly believed in Napolitano's story and called it a definitely authentic case of human abduction by alien. Andros said he knows what the ETs are after. They've been using humans to further their species. Cortal's story is familiar with Philly Klaas, a former senior editor for Aviation Week and Space Technology magazine, known as the Sherlock Holmes of ufology. In his 1988 book, UFO Abductions, A Dangerous Game, Klaas described the emergence of what he calls an alien abduction cult among UFO enthusiasts. The book examines numerous cases or claims of ETs abducting young children and taking flesh samples, impregnating young women with alien semen, and then returning to remove their unborn babies for transplant to ET females. The short video below features the aforementioned Hopkins speaking on the Brooklyn Bridge across from Cortal's apartment. And I'll put a link in both chats so that you guys can check out the embedded videos that are available as well. Klaas devoted several issues of his UFO Skeptics newsletter to the Cortal case. uncovering implausibilities and major discrepancies in her story and its handling by Hopkins. For example, Cortile later added to her story that her son had been abducted by ETs 2 months earlier, and that the craft that took her crashed into the East River. No such incident was reported by any witness. Class said the 2 alleged security guards, Dan and Richard, have never been found, although Hopkins allegedly arranged for them to meet Cortile in her apartment. She later claimed that Dan kidnapped her from Manhattan Street and took her to a CIA safe house. And Klaas said Hopkins claimed to have received a letter from the third man who witnessed the incident, the world leader who refused to step forward. Hopkins reportedly believed it was Javier Perez de Cuellar, who was the Secretary General of the United Nations in 1989. Despite mounting evidence against Cortile's story, even some MUFON members were skeptical. Andrews called it a case of the century. However, there's still much skepticism about Napolitano's case. Some people compared it to the science fiction novel Night Eyes, originally published March 1st, 1989, but at the same time there are 23 eyewitnesses who saw this strangeness that night. But they only mentioned 3, the 2 guards, maybe the person they were guarding, but that might be a 4th, but who, and then of course the woman herself. So who else saw it? There's 23 witnesses, they said. So I'm a little unclear on that, but I will put links to this in the chats, and you guys can check it out at your leisure. Leisure. That sounded more profound, didn't it?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay, so it's in the YouTube chat, and I'm going to put it over in TFR, and you guys can check it out. Paste. There we go. All right, so I don't know what you guys think. I mean, do you think it's real or not? I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you think. I hadn't heard all this alleged debunking of it before. So, now, to be fair, I'm not somebody that digs into, abduction cases and stuff. I've seen a UFO, so to me, it's like, yeah, there's UFOs. And after that, I just understand that they're here. I certainly pay attention when I run across them, but I don't seek them out. So if anybody has more information about this or other debunks of it, then I'd love to hear that too. So anytime any of you guys come into stories and stuff that you think are very interesting, and if you're not in the Discord community, of course, that's one avenue to post them. But you can always email them to me at paranormalportalradio@gmail.com, because I can only see so much. I'm only one person. So if you guys find other stuff that you think would be fun, then let me know about it. Love to see it, right, Sheldon?
Absolutely. I'll post it in the chat.
Very cool. So now we're going to jump over to an article this is from ranker.com, and this is about that cell phone. And it says, it's from the graveyard shift section of ranker.com, and it's by Aaron McCann. It was last updated March 13th of 2020. This man kept calling his loved ones, even though he'd been dead for hours. Mysterious phone calls from the dead make for excellent horror movie plots, but this eerie phenomena also happens in real life. Many stories of unexplained phone calls show that they're not just the result of grief-stricken imaginings. Although people try to explain these odd occurrences by blaming malfunctioned cell phone technology, reports of phantom phone calls go back to at least 1967. Charles E. Peck's Metrolink death is one of the most prominent and creepy stories about phone calls from dead people since author Dean Koontz's deceased mother phoned him to give him a warning. Peck was killed instantly in a horrible 2008 Metrolink commuter train accident where a total of 25 people died and 135 were injured. But before anyone knew Peck was dead, his family members received 35 calls from his phone for several hours following the disaster. Whether it was due to the phone damage or the train rider reaching out from beyond, we may never know, but it's nice to believe that even those who've passed are only a phone call away. So it says he was about to move to California for his fiancée. 49-year-old Charles Peck worked for Delta Airlines. He was considered leaving his job in Salt Lake City International Airport for a job at Vanoise Airport in L.A. to be closer to his fiancée, and Andrea Katz. and had an interview there. Although the couple was ready to get married, the fact that they didn't live in the same state was an issue. Then the disaster occurred. Katz was on her way to pick him up from the train station when she heard the news of the accident on the radio. Peck had 3 children from a previous marriage, one of whom was on his afterlife phone call list. Andrea Katz heard about the crash on the radio as she was driving to pick up Peck from the train station and was relieved when she received a call from his phone. Other friends and family members of Katz were in the same position. After the crash, Peck's phone placed calls to his son, sister, brother, and stepmother. In all, about 35 calls were made during the 11 hours that followed the accident. According to one source, the final call from Peck's phone came at 3:28 a.m., about 1 hour before his body was found. Peck was killed when a commuter train and freight train collided. Peck was a passenger in the Metrolink commuter train traveling through San Fernando Valley in California on September 12, 2008. It collided headfirst into a Union Pacific freight train at 83 miles per hour when the conductor failed to stop at a red light. The impact was devastating, and the 225 people aboard the Metrolink, at least 25 died and more than 100 were seriously injured. The engineer sitting at the front of the train was killed instantly as well. The freight train was carrying only 3 crew members, but it was demolished in the accident. The disaster became known as the Chatsworth train crash and is still considered the worst commuter train accident in the history of California. At first, Peck's loved ones must have been excited when they saw his name pop up on their phone screens. As the calls continued, they had hope that he was still alive and trapped within the rubble of the crash. Unfortunately, they were unable to actually talk to him. All they heard when they answered his calls was static. However, Andrea Katz used the opportunity to communicate with her fiancé and to let him know that she was with him, shouting messages of encouragement like, "Hang in there, baby. We're going to get you out. You're going to be okay." Other people who claimed to have received phone calls from beyond also reported hearing static or a voice that seemed very faint and far away. They said before rescue workers discovered his body in the wreckage, they had no reason to believe that the calls placed in his family meant he was still alive. As it became clear, they probably weren't going to find any survivors in the crash. Their rescue efforts turned to a mission to recover bodies. When yet another call came from Peck's phone, they decided to trace it to find his location. Unfortunately, they discovered his body and knew that he died on impact. Police never revealed if Peck's phone was found. Although the rescue teams were excited because the phone calls meant he was still alive, that wasn't the case, and they discovered his body an hour after the last phone call was placed. According to anecdotal sources like forums and unsolved mystery sites, the coroner was unable to find signs that Peck had survived for any amount of time after the crash, confirming the calls were not made while he was still alive. I don't really like this article because they keep repeating. But anyway, we'll continue. Anyone who's ever butt dialed a number knows it's possible to make phone call accidentally. Perhaps an object was sitting on top of Peck's phone, causing it to make random calls. The phone was most likely severely damaged during the disaster, so it may have malfunctioned. Peck's broken phone may have called his speed dial list. When this story was first posted on Reddit, several users shared their own creepy stories of malfunctioning phones and posted eerie phone activity stories from online forums. The possibility that Peck's phone suffered some technical issue should not be overlooked. His phone was never really found, so maybe he was reaching out from the afterlife. Although rescue workers were able to locate his body successfully, the phone was never discovered. It's possible that it was completely destroyed in the disaster or damaged to the point of malfunctioning, but why it made calls to several of the people Peck was closest to, we may never know. Perhaps he was reaching out to tell his loved ones not to worry or say goodbye. Maybe he took it with him into the afterlife, like the ghosts who are seen in the clothes they were wearing when they passed. Since the rescue team was able to trace the calls to locate his body, maybe Peck was simply leading them to it. No one will ever know for sure if this story may ever forever remain a mystery. It said the train conductor was texting. Investigators believe the conductor was responsible for the crash after he failed to stop at a red light. The commuter train was running on the same track as the freight train and was directly in its path. Oh, that's terrible. So after the disaster, a team came forward admitting that the They had received a text from the conductor immediately before the crash. The last text sent from the conductor's phone happened 22 seconds before the impact. Oh, it's so sad. I don't know if I want to keep reading here. I guess it says, intrigued by many stories of people receiving phone calls from the deceased Psy investigators D. Scott Rogo and Raymond Bayless did research and published a book about their findings in 1979. Their research has recently been continued by another paranormal researcher, Callum Cooper. Yeah, I think the whole ghost phone call thing is absolutely fascinating. There's so many stories of this. And here's the thing. I received a call like this. It wasn't from a phone of the deceased person, but the story, I'll go over it quick because it kind of started a whole series of events, or was part of a whole series of events after my father passed away. And essentially what happened was I was sitting right here and my phone rang and I saw it was my mom calling. So I'm like, I answered. It was like, hello. Nobody was there. I was like, what's going on? And I could hear some noises in the distance. Like I heard a sound like this, like that. Now, my father died of COPD basically. So he was always coughing and had breathing issues, but that's what it sounded like. And I thought my mom must have butt dialed me or something. And my brother was over there. My older brother was over there visiting and stuff. So I didn't think much of it. I tried to get the attention of her, thinking that it was an accidental call. And I'm like, hello, and trying to make noise, but nothing. So I finally just hung up and then I called it back because I was going to call her. Once it disconnected, it would ring and she would answer. But I called back and there was no answer. So I'm like, well, that's weird. Maybe she didn't hear her phone ring or whatever. So I just kind of did my thing. And about 15 minutes later, I get a call from Mom. And she says, what did you want? I was like, what did I want? I said, I wanted to tell you that you called me by accident. She goes, what? I said, yeah, it was about 15 minutes ago. Got a call. Nobody's there. I said, is my brother there? She said, no, I'm alone. I said, well, I could hear somebody coughing in the background, like somebody's, maybe a voice and then some coughing. But it sounded like maybe it was my brother. And she goes, no, I'm here by myself. And she said, nobody could have called you because my phone was on the dining room table and I went down and took a shower for the last, 15, 20 minutes. So it was impossible that I was called. Now the story continues, and I've told this on the show before. So forgive me for those of you that have heard all this before, but the story continues. So my dad was doing things like this for quite a period of time after he passed. His TV would turn on and all of this, and when nobody was in the room. And it never did that before. Has never done it since, except for the occasions when just after his passing. So it was very strange. And so we all just thought, well, Dad's just letting us know he's okay. So I went on the show that Friday night and told the stories of what was going on, all these things that maybe were my dad coming back and letting us know he's okay. And, reaching out in whatever ways he could. And I talked about it on the show, went into this, explanations of how his TV was turning on, lights flicking on and off, that kind of stuff. And on Saturday morning, I woke up and was in here again, and suddenly my phone rings, and it's my mom. She goes, "You're not going to believe this." I'm like, "What's going on?" She said, "Well, your dad's TV turned on again." And she said, at first I thought it was your brother. And he said, no, I haven't been out there at all. Because my dad had his own part of the house where he'd watch TV because he liked Walker, Texas Ranger and all this stuff. And Mom didn't like to watch that, so she'd watch it in another part of the house. And so that was my dad's area. It was this big 4-season porch. It was beautiful. It still is. But anyway, so she said not only did the TV turn on, but it was connected to the internet. Now that TV had never been connected to the internet. It was smart enabled, but it was never connected ever. My dad could hardly operate a remote. So not only was the TV on, it was on the internet. Not only was it on the internet, it had somehow gone to YouTube. Not only was it on YouTube, but it was on my channel, the Paranormal Portal channel. And not only was it on my channel, but it was playing the episode of me talking about all the weird stuff that's happened at my mom's house since my dad passed. Now that is so many layers of coincidence. I don't care who you are. There's just too many extreme impossibilities stacked one on the other that it definitely, beyond a shadow of a doubt, I am absolutely convinced that my dad was letting us know he was still around. He's with us. So, just incredible. Just incredible. But I'm just in time to go to the break. We're going to go to the last break here, folks, and we'll be right back at it with the last half hour of the show. So don't go anywhere or else. Or else. I'm just saying.
Don't touch that dial.
Don't touch the dial at all. Not going to say what else, but or else. So we'll be right back. Just waiting for the bell. There's the bell. all these nights just fly by. Even when I got a cold and I'm all foggy and stuff, the night still flies, dude, doesn't it?
Oh, I would think it'd make it go faster for you.
No, I'm just kind of no, because the reading it's a more of a struggle than normal. So it, I feel every syllable, more than ever. But no, it's just gone really good. I think it's just all the incredible conversations and you guys in the chat are wonderful. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed the stories. I never wanted the shows to be about me, and so for a long time I never shared personal experiences at all because I was just like, well, is that going to come off like a bad con? Like, oh yeah, you've got a paranormal show and you've got all kinds of experiences. Sure. I didn't want it to come off that way. So I kept them to myself for a long time. But finally one day I just decided, you know what, I'm going to share this story. And so I shared a story of one of my experiences. And the response was so awesome. I was just like, oh my God, this is really cool. So I started sharing more of my experiences with you guys. And I'll be honest, I've forgotten more of them than I'll ever remember. It's just, there's so many weird things that I've experienced. And I don't know if that means I'm broken somehow or what, but it's just the way it is. I think, all of us that have an interest in this stuff, I think we become maybe magnetized to it, or it becomes aware of us or something. I don't know. Creates at least some kind of synergy between us and this unknown world around us. So perhaps that's why we have more experiences, but yeah.
Well, think of it in the reverse too. If you had no paranormal experiences but started a paranormal show, it'd be cool, but it'd be kind of odd,
Yeah, I've listened to those shows, and I can tell you that you can usually hear it in the host voice, and it's almost like a bad con. It's like, why are you representing something that you don't believe in? And it's just you got to think it's got to be financial for them. It's like, well, people like this stuff, so I'm going to talk about this. And if it's not something you're passionate about, I think it just becomes disingenuous. But I've heard hosts just tear people apart repeatedly on their shows. And to me, that's just a heartbreaker, because people are already feeling vulnerable and unsure and uncertain. But then to gain the courage to come out and talk about things, and then to have somebody just, poop in your face over it. It's just like, how incredibly inappropriate is that? And it's because I've had lots of experiences that I think it's made me a better listener to your guys' experiences, because I find a lot of similarities in our stories, and I find, that you guys teach me a lot about the phenomena in sharing your stories, because everybody sees things differently. Everybody that has experiences, they see the same things happening, but they'll tell a different story, not because it's not genuine, but it's because the details they notice are a little bit different. And so every time I listen to a witness who tells me what they've experienced, I do walk away with something that adds to my own puzzle, something that'll connect the dots, and it's really powerful. So that's why, I love the Discord community. I love the chats and stuff, because through sharing ideas and thoughts and experiences, I think we can grow from our dialogue, So
yeah.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that if you have no experiences that you can't still be intrigued. That's fine. That's great, even, actually. Having no experience and still being intrigued by it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, Ninja Dave. I appreciate that. And Rachel says, Brent, it's like visualization. Manifesting happens on the paranormal plane, too. That's a good point. And that's kind of a pet theory of mine lately. I've been for the longest time, I've been pondering this stuff. And the thing is there's so many parts of the paranormal. There's the UFOs, there's the cryptids and cryptozoology, and there's ghosts, and there's strange phenomena and everything in between. But the thing that I'm coming to suspect is that, and I've shared this on the show as well, but it's hard to, in my foggy state, to really make it make sense. But I think the common denominator is us. And hearing the stories from different experiencers in these different fields, there's similarities in them. And maybe the similarity is us being people, but maybe we aren't just these passive bystanders to this stuff. Maybe we are active participants, and maybe we experience these things because something lines up in us every once in a while. Something just lines up. And suddenly we see more than we usually do, and we hear more than we usually do, and we become aware of these other vibrations around us for a moment. How many ghost stories start with, it just kind of was there and I was staring at it and then it faded away. What was it, the shock that changed something in you to make it kind of disappear from your ability to perceive it? Or did the thing actually leave somehow by disapparating or whatever? Maybe it's us that's coming into these experiences through some heightened awareness. And I'm really intrigued by that thought because I think it takes us from being these helpless observers to being active participants in the phenomena, and that's empowering. That is empowering because I think a lot of us that have experiences, you feel disempowered. You're like, something happened to me. But what if something happened with you? Because that synergy was just right in that moment, and maybe you tap into it after. Because another thing that's real common is if somebody has one experience with one phenomena, they seem more likely to have more experiences after that. So again, the common denominator is the people, not the phenomena. Some of these phenomena are disjointed and absolutely unrelated, but still, a person sees a Bigfoot, then suddenly comes, into a situation where they're aware of ghosts visiting them and stuff. Well, maybe something changed in us by experiencing that. That synergy, that alignment can happen again easier after that point. And I like that idea because I don't like the idea that we are helpless observers to this and things are happening to us. Maybe we're the ones that are bringing ourselves into their existence,
Well, true. Pulling us in. Maybe we're looking at it the wrong way.
Yeah, right, exactly. So, I don't know. Just some thoughts. But
I actually have a question for you, kind of along that line. As far as the stories that you read, what are some of your favorites? Not like specific stories, but type of stories that really kind of make you think and bring you into an awe moment.
I think my favorites are actually, I love it all, and I don't know that I have a favorite, but I love the ones where something profound happened to protect somebody, or something profound happened to bring somebody into a better understanding. Like sometimes the ghosts are protective of people. There was one story that I read of this family. It was a very abusive dad, and they moved into this like a double wide trailer or something, and apparently somebody had died there, and there was this presence. And the one part of the story, and I'm really brutalizing this, I'm sure, in my retelling, but the point is that at one point the dad came home and was just in a rage, and he was reaching like he was gonna smack the daughter. Like his hand went back, and the next thing you know, he was thrown across the room into the wall by some unseen force. And then he freaked out and left. So it was like, I love those stories where, these other presences were there in a protective manner. I like the angelic stories of, interceding and protecting people and miraculous healings and stuff. I love the positive stories a lot. The creepy ones are cool too, but it seems less less heartening, but it's nice to hear the good stories,
Right. I agree. Yeah, my favorite kind of stories are the protective ones too, actually, funny enough. Like the one that sticks out in my mind is you'll know what story I'm talking about. The story where the lady had to walk home or something in a bad neighborhood, and people were told her the next day that there were these huge two guys walking with her. But she said there was nobody with me.
Yeah. Yep. That's the story we talked about years and years ago, wasn't it?
Yes, yep, that's the one. I've never forgotten that one because it's one of my favorites.
Yeah, she figured they were her guardian angels, but they were walking, and I think it was somebody that had to do with she was like a parole officer or something, or either she or he. I don't remember if it was a boy or girl, but I think it was a woman. But anyway, she ended up seeing one of the guys in one of her hearings, and I remember so-and-so, maybe a month ago, you guys were standing there looking at me, and I was so expecting you guys to attack me, but you didn't. Why not? He said, well, it's because of those huge guys that were walking alongside of you. They look mean. Never seen somebody look so mean. And she was like, I was alone. So, yeah, very cool story. But that's the beauty of it. It's a conundrum. All of it's a conundrum, but it's very cool. So, I want to move to another. No, I did that one. Okay. There's other ones here, but I want to go to some phantoms and monsters and talk about some cryptids now, because we all love some cryptids. And Lon Lon serves them up fresh on phantomsandmonsters.com, ladies and gentlemen. Definitely support what Lon's doing over there. He's got a great site full of thousands of experience reports, people seeing and being in the company of some real incredible strange things. And also, he's a very accomplished author and has his own podcast, which is Phantoms and Monsters Radio. And you can find out about all of it by going to phantomandmonsters.com. I
Link in the chat.
kind of mumbled through that. But that's as well as my mouth works right now. So, huge cryptid wolves encountered by Madison, Wisconsin witness. This is from October 4th, 2022. The Singular Fortean Society was contacted recently by Madison resident Kirsty Beth, who wished to share an encounter she had with two bizarre wolf-like creatures. The encounter occurred one weekend morning, roughly a decade ago in the spring or summer, while Beth was driving home from work through Madison's Midvale Heights neighborhood at around 2:30 a.m. At the time, she was working as a shot girl at a bar in nearby Sun Prairie. Sorry, my eyes are all screwed up and it's black font and white lettering. It's kind of bleeding into each other. So I apologize, but emphasized that she had not been drinking, nor was she overtired. I was on a residential street just blocks away from my home, and what I saw were two huge wolf-like creatures in tandem darting across the road in front of me. I was startled and hit the brakes, but they had disappeared before I got a good look at them, she told investigator Tobias Wayland. Truthfully, this memory has stuck with me more than any other sighting of an animal crossing the road because it was so weird the way they appeared. It was just like two dogs side by side, almost like how sled dogs are hooked up. But they were huge, bigger than any wolf, more like a bear. A solid white silver color, but their features weren't entirely there. It was closer to an outline and a shadow. It appeared almost like a projection that scanned right to left across the street in a flash. I don't remember their feet touching the ground. They didn't move normally. It was like a blip in reality, or they briefly appeared running in another dimension that bled through to the street in front of me. It didn't make any sense, but it didn't really scare me. Just startled that I'd almost hit them, but simultaneously not afraid even if I did hit them. They were probably just an apparition, and since I believe in this stuff anyway, I just shrugged it off as that was weird and went home. There were no other cars present, and the occurrence was maybe all of 3 to 5 seconds. No other lights or any remarkable weather. No forest nearby, or really any reason why two giant wolves would be roaming around. It was like a flashbulb type of projection. She went on to describe the creatures in more detail, saying they were like a bad child's drawing of a great wolf, exaggerated, lumpy features, and the size of a lion. It was like a blur or a smear, like a kid drew an outline of it and then ran his hand over it, she said. But I remember my brain saying wolf, and then quickly realizing it wasn't because it was so large, like the size of a lion. Beth wasn't particularly frightened by her experience, only momentarily startled. It was truly just weird, moment, and then I went home and went to bed, she said. A map of the area provided by Beth, the X is where I was living at the time, and the star is roughly where I saw the image. I'm not recalling if it was before or after Tokara Lane or thereabouts. Residential Lane is not that long of a street and definitely not a rural area, so two giant wolves just made no sense to me. They just didn't move normally. They moved/blurred too fast across the street in the shadows, she said. Beth's encounter is reminiscent of a pair of strange creature encounters near Beloit, Wisconsin. The more recent of those took place outside of Rockton, Illinois in 2019. In that instance, a man and his wife were driving home at around 11 p.m. on August 8th, 2019, when they spotted something unrecognizable as any normal animal. My wife spotted eyes reflecting the light and assumed it was a normal animal, possum or raccoon, and I saw the movement and said deer, as whatever it had longer front legs, like a tall dog, the man said. Then, as it crossed the road in front of us, we realized it was not a deer or any other easily recognized animal. I've grown up in rural areas and am well acquainted with the various rural creatures. This was not a coyote or a fox. It had a rounded head and a flat face, no snout or muzzle, and it had no obvious ears or where they were very tight against its head. Sounds like a squatch on all fours, actually. Like a quadrupedal squatch. Dark brown in color, almost muddy red in the car headlights. Long, slim tail. Well, that doesn't sound like a squatch. That curled under it as it loped across the road. It moved in a way that could only be compared to an ape or beast or bear's style of movement, as if all fours was faster but not completely necessary. My wife and I thought it moved like a gibbon. It left a bizarre impression on us both, as we can't settle on a creature that we believe it could be. Unless it wasn't a tail. Maybe it was carrying something, that had something like a tail. The chimeric creature described in that report is eerily similar to something reported seen by a wife and her husband near Beloit, Wisconsin in 2013. That sighting took place only 8 miles north of this one. According to the wife's testimony regarding the 2013 encounter, it moved like a cat, graceful with a long flicky tail. It didn't look like a cat, though, except for the head. It was dark, but not black. Brindled, dark colors with some black. The fur was short like a dog with some glossiness to it. Its head was massive and triangle-shaped. Their eyes were large and green. The head looked so robust, like you could hit it with a bat and it would break the bat. It was flat like a cat's, no snout like a dog or bear. Its chest was also triangle-shaped and really muscular, with legs that came down like a bulldog's. The back was a smaller triangle with legs that came out like a German shepherd's. The thing was big and solid muscle. I think the top of its head would have came to my chin, so about 4 foot. The tail was about the same length as the body. This is what it was confusing. It moved like a cat, but it didn't look like one. The earlier witness claimed the whole time I had the feeling I knew we were watching and found the situation amusing. That it knew, okay. And the longer you watched it, the harder it became to see it, like its edges were blurring. It got to about 30 feet from the road and led down in a C shape, just like a cat, or lied down in a C shape like a cat. It was staring at us, and I was staring at it, but the longer I looked at it, it almost seemed to become pixelated. The more recent witness described a similar feeling of high strangeness during his encounter. There was definitely a sense of oddity. Even now my head is trying to wiggle up a fit as to what it really was. The whole incident lasted only a second or two, he said. As for Beth, she had not heard of the other sightings in southern Wisconsin, but admitted they did seem similar to her own. The pixelation reference caught my attention. She said, yes, it was similar to that, but not quite the same. I'm just thinking of that footage from Florida of that guy out his back door, that ghostly dog man that he recorded running by that streetlight. And that didn't seem like it was fully manifest, but it was definitely a form that was walking or running as it moved bipedally. But maybe the quadrupedal is a possibility too. And that would maybe surmise what she saw. But whatever the case, creepy.
Very unique.
Yeah, right?
Wow. I don't even know what to make of that, really, other than interdimensional
spiritual. Again, and this is a great example of it. These cases, they're so unique, but the common denominator is people saw them, and so were they the ones that were almost fully focused on this other vibration and able to perceive these things? I don't know. It's these one-offs that are really confusing, though. I'll tell you that. You look for patterns and you look for some continuity, and sometimes there really is this disjointed, series of events that doesn't seem to make sense. Like it just popped up and then was gone. Nobody else saw it. No other claims came in except for these other 2 claims in the Grand area. Not really, really close to each other, but still.
It's so unique to the point where you can't really say, oh, that sounds fake. It's so well described.
Right.
Something that, could be made up, I guess, it's so interesting.
Yeah, exactly. Good point. But I don't know. Oh, somebody's talking about Flannel Man. Rachel's talking about that. I'm not a big
Hat Man.
Hat Man I'm familiar with, but but Flannel Man, I don't know if I buy.
Flannel Man. Never mind.
I don't know if I buy into the Flannel Man thing. I think spirits can choose to be perceived however, and flannel shirts are comfortable, so maybe that's what they want to be viewed as. But there, some people are explaining flannel man as if it's a different phenomena altogether, like it's a whole different kind of spiritual existence or apparition or whatever. But I don't think so. I think they're just maybe formerly human spirits that for whatever reason they like flannel.
Couldn't you say the same thing about Hat Man though?
No, I think that's definitely a very distinct phenomena, because outside of Flannel Man appearing and disappearing, there isn't a lot remarkable about it. But Hat Man seems to have a definite motive, Like,
Yeah.
Flannel Man sounds like just another kind of apparition that people observe. But the Hat Man seems to have an agenda. Like, there's some reason that this is happening. And I don't pretend to know what it is, but I guess the same could be said for anything. But in my mind, I don't know. But Flannel
We
Man.
both experienced Hat Man, so we
Yeah,
believe in Hat Man.
and your middle brother too. Yeah,
Yep. All
three of us. Yeah, I'm just that's a curiosity, and I guess we could probably talk about that through the rest of the show. But essentially, what Sheldon's referring to, and again, you may have heard this already on the show, but when I was a teenager, I was plagued by these dreams of, and the best reference I can give you to what it looked like was a meatier, beefier version of the evil guy in the second Poltergeist movie. That God is in his holy temple. That creepy preacher guy. That's what it looked like, except much brawnier. Not like muscular, but just more full. That guy in the Poltergeist movie was like a walking skeleton, but looked exactly like that in many, many ways. So I was plagued by these dreams of this thing, trying to get away from it over and over in my dreams. Couldn't get away from it, no matter what I did. Even in a lucid dream where I could make it up, I could fly like Superman. It would be right wherever I was going. It could climb up walls like Spider-Man. It would be on top. Anything I could imagine, I couldn't get away with it. And it told me that. You can't get away from me. You'll never get away from me. And I was freaked out, wake up in a panic. And this went on through, my teen years. Then it just kind of stopped. And I guess I didn't think about it much more until Sheldon hit his teen years. Dad, I had a weird dream last night. I'm like, well, what's going on? I don't know. It's this guy. I was like, wait a minute. Was he in a black trench coat with a black wide brim hat with white hair? He went, yeah. I went, oh my God. And you explained the same thing. It was just after you. And I, and then you kind of outgrew it. But then your younger brother, Oliver, he said, Dad, I'm having weird dreams. And when he was a teenager, I was like, or I guess he was a little younger. He was about 11 or 12 at the time. But he started telling me about his weird dreams with this weird Hat Man. So 3 of us have had this same experience. Now, I have a 7-year-old that I'm wondering if he's going to experience that when he gets into his teen years. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it means. It's just this weird haunting presence that seems to just terrorize teenagers for whatever reason. So
yeah, he didn't really. I mean, did he have did it seem like he was trying to teach you something in your dreams or anything like that?
I never got this far as trying to figure out what he was doing. I just knew I didn't want to be around him. I was just so intimidated by his presence. I just wanted to get away. The only thing I wanted to do was get away. And so maybe there's some higher purpose to it. I don't know, but it was freaky as hell. And no matter what I did, it would be right there. You can't escape me. You cannot get rid of me. You cannot leave. I will be there. It's like, wow. So I don't know what it means, but a true story.
Joke's on you, Hat Man. Haven't seen you since. We escaped.
Oh, way to taunt it. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have a dream tonight. Watch.
Yeah. You rang. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, not a good call.
Well, I'll keep you updated tomorrow.
Well, yeah, we'll talk to you tomorrow about it. See sweet dreams. But yeah, I don't know, folks. That's about all we can cover for tonight. So we got about a minute left. Sheldon, do you want to share about Discord again, please?
Yeah, if you guys want to stay in touch with us and the community in general and all of their wonderful links, as well as take part in the questions of the week, go ahead and join the Discord in the chat.
Absolutely. We'd love to have you over there. So again, that's a thing you can do. Thank you. A special thank you to the members as well. Thank you so much, everybody that has signed on and been supporting that. It means a lot. It really goes a long way in helping to keep all this rolling. So thank you so much for your kindness. Thank you to those of you who just come in and hang out. That means the world too. It helps a bunch that you guys are here. It helps a bunch that you leave thumbs up. If you're ever watching old videos, please leave a comment if you don't mind. That helps a ton too. So just remember, we love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day. And remember to laugh as much as you can. I'm going to go to sleep now. Good night.
Good night.
This is iHeartRadio.